We've all heard of women's intuition, right? Well, men have intuition as well. Intuition is so important when it comes to feeding ourselves and our families in our challenging food environment. This podcast explores a variety of topics related to a powerful, evidence-based eating framework called intuitive eating that integrates instinct, emotion, and rational thought. My hope is that it will help you finally break free of the perpetual diet cycle. This is the Men's Intuition Podcast. All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Men's Intuition Podcast. All right, so in this particular episode, this one is a little bit different than the way that I normally do it. Basically, it's just a quick episode where I'm going to share some thoughts and reflections after the holiday. It's going to be the last episode for 2022. I actually have another interview later today with a great guest who's going to be on next week, who will be the first episode of the new year. And so make sure to check that one out next week. But I just had a few thoughts after the Christmas Day celebration and the food that was available and that kind of thing. And then yesterday, where we had another celebration with my wife's brothers and our sister-in-law and our nephews and niece. And it was kind of an interesting thing that happened. And I thought I would just share that very briefly here. So this is going to be a real short episode. I don't even have any notes put together. So hopefully I won't get too rambling here with this. But basically, I really think a lot of us can probably relate to this kind of thing because it is a common kind of an issue that we run into around the holidays. And that is the issue of sweets and the issue of certain holiday foods that might be around. And as you know, if you've been following my podcast or if you're familiar with intuitive eating, one of the principles that is important is the satisfaction factor. So finding satisfaction and enjoyment in the food that you eat. And if you've ever worked with me or talked with me or follow my content, I talk a lot about the importance of kind of using curiosity and reflection in the process of kind of thinking back through how we navigated a particular situation or how certain things made us feel, that kind of thing. So again, coming back to satisfaction. So satisfaction is a really important part of eating. We find that if we eat in a way that is satisfying, then we tend to be satisfied with less. So we don't continue to look for that satisfaction in yet more and more eating, where we eat beyond fullness, maybe into the area of discomfort, or maybe we eat more of a particular kind of food and end up not feeling so great afterward. As an example, there's absolutely nothing wrong with eating sweets and cookies and cake and pie or really any kind of food, maybe a heavy, rich kind of a food or food that you might get at a buffet. Nothing wrong with eating any of those foods. But I think all of us can attest to the fact that if we eat 50 cookies in one sitting, we're probably not going to feel particularly great afterward, that kind of a thing. So anyway, coming back to this, we had on Christmas, we had a really nice meal and really enjoyed that. And we had some sweets around and I was kind of in the mood for something sweet. And what I found was interesting was, and I didn't really notice it until after the fact, but we often have a mix of different kinds of sweets and desserts and those kinds of things around. But this year, for whatever reason, all we had was candy. We had a whole bunch of candy, different kinds of candy, which was fine, but it was all candy kind of things. And I love candy. I love, that sweet flavor. And so I was enjoying pieces of candy here and there and in different amounts. And I found myself kind of going back a lot for more candy, more so than I usually do. In the past, when I used to be kind of caught up in dieting, I'd go crazy on the holidays and just get in all the sweets in my mind, get in all of my junk food eating all in that one sitting so that I could then start again on Monday. Well, that's not the way I do things anymore, being an intuitive eater. But I found myself sort of in that kind of mindset. I kept eating more candy and I kept thinking, well, I want some more, but it wasn't particularly as enjoyable as it was initially and that kind of thing. And I kept kind of thinking, well, what is it that's missing here? And later, I realized we didn't have some of the other things that I enjoy, like cookies or a pie or that kind of thing. And it's not that I need to eat all of these things, but what was interesting is I was craving a little bit of candy, but not that much. I actually was really in the mood for some Christmas cookies of some kind, any kind of cookie, really. I realized that was kind of what I was in the mood for and what I was craving. But yet all I had was the candy and chocolate and these kinds of things. So I kept going back and going back, and that wasn't satisfying what I was truly craving. And so it was interesting because then yesterday we went to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's house. And as I said, we had our Christmas celebration with them on the 26th. And what was interesting was that they had some cookies, and they were my favorite kind, Snickerdoodle. And I had a couple of those, and I was like, that hit the spot. All it took was a couple of Snickerdoodle cookies, knocked out those cravings, because that's what I was really craving was, not only a little bit of candy, but I really wanted some cookies. Once I had those, it hit the spot and I was good. And then last night when I got home, I had no desire for any more of that chocolate and any more of those sweets. So they're still sitting there. And I'll probably be nibbling on those in the next few days. And I don't know, next few weeks, who knows? We have a fair amount of it. So, but anyway, my whole point in this was to point out that the satisfaction factor is a very important principle in intuitive eating. And often when we are missing out on something as simple as the difference between candy and cookies, when really what we want is cookies, but candy is the only thing around, you can see how that can impact us. But yet when we're able to satisfy what truly we're craving, then it makes it easier to just kind of go about our business, not thinking about it anymore, or that kind of a thing. And we find this with all kinds of foods. So if you are craving a particular food and you're restricting yourself from it, or you're not allowing yourself to have it, or you're saying, it's not, quote, cheat day, or whatever it is, it's not on my diet, I ate too much over the weekend, all of these kinds of things, it can often backfire and lead us into excessive eating, binge eating, thinking a lot about that particular food, obsessing about it. All kinds of things like that can happen when we don't just simply say, what am I in the mood for? What would hit the spot right now? And then satisfying that with an amount that's going to leave us feeling satisfied and also good later on. So just thought I'd share those quick little thoughts and reflections after the holiday. Again, this will be the last episode for this year. Thank you all for listening over the course of this year. And I'm looking forward to bringing you some more great episodes this year, some solo episodes with just me and my thoughts, as well as some great guests that I have lined up ahead. So thanks again for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful new year, and we'll catch you in 2023.